Country Workshop visits an old barn. For his project, Brian told us we'd leave our cars on the road and walk through a path of brush and brambles and maples along what had been the main entrance to a farm. We did. He said we'd walk dirt floors, corridors of stanchions, and rooms where things were done we'd lost all knowledge of. He said we'd meet in an hour in the last loft. We did. He said we should close our eyes for a year and write. He said smell hay and mice droppings, waft of bird tongue, bird juice, and yellow jacket love. We did. Brian's barn. Hair catches sticks to spiderweb curtains, while sun circles drop on bubblewood floors. I wander, lose myself further into his imagination. Endless hours, testing boards, coaxing the dog to take the dare, hanging long legs over window frames, thinking, and thinking. Barn poem. An old barn, faint smell of musty hay. I sit on the cold concrete, writing, remembering the honeycomb of rusty wire in the broken entry. Chirping, row upon row of abandoned milk stalls. Chirping, debris scattered in the corner of a ground floor room. Scattered, split pieces, useless. A place too large, too empty. And I would rather hear this bird who breaks into my thoughts. Leaves rustle, far away traffic sounds on a busy street. A grapevine frames the open door. I want to go outside. Bring on Brian's barn. I'm nervous about this because I know a clock is ticking. But the barn envelops me with indifference to time, a comforting timelessness. I am caught in the rift of currents. I've only known the barns downstairs, which gives wonder enough. Upstairs are three great halls, cathedrals, dark, but lit with cathedral light from doors open or missing or ajar. The leaves of trees in October light are shards of ambers and yellows shadowed by failing greens. To the west, I see a field from another century, tied to this one only by highway noise. Arched dark ribs remind me of an upturned ship. The barn is an empty ark, unhusbanded. An artist said that in America, our barns are our cathedrals, lofts high with dusky mystery, poignance of neglect. Slant Roofs by Tom Coe. These were shrewd barns, prosperous dairymen built against the future. Timbers hoist up over concrete and stone, fine detail molding loft designs, the elegant, effective design. I cannot help but resent them. Think of these walls, this roof, as some developer might, for their potential to be subdued again to an enterprise of hard cash and sentimental atmosphere. These barns bought their say, in church and school. The sheriff would have known them, perhaps consulted inside. One after midnight, perhaps even brought the two boys home, quiet, off the record, knowing their damage would be paid. The farmer counted upon to be stern, his wife to be properly saddened. Now a class comes here to write poems. Think of maple leaves, burdocks, and spider webs. But something more somber has also walked these planks, stood under these perfect roofs that still, after years of abandonment, do not let in rain, allow no rust on the metal of cattle stall grates. I only recall another story of a farmer and his barns. the ones he would tear down to build new, grand enough for his fresh harvest, a story itself that is and is not a poem. Hollow by Stephen Hullfish. My footsteps hollow on this wood and grow dim. A leaf drifts in through an open window, landing among these brittle ones. The patch of light on the barn floor wanes as the sky fills with clouds, the color of an abandoned spider web. Wind breathes through spaces in the boards in wonder of its own voice. Untitled. In Virginia, my great-uncle's barn is falling, slowly. Each year sees it leaning north toward Kent's Mountain. 4 summers ago, I noticed it edging left from the house. Hitchhiking through, I stopped to talk to my mother's godparents, to eat hot food, to take a bath. The barn is settled, creaked into an almost impossible angle. Days down the road, I'd wake at night, believing for a moment I was still in that barn, staring up through the ruined ceiling. A rethink on the dairy farm. On the Monday of my divorce, I drove out to the dairy farm where I worked while I was going to high school. My ex-wife was with me, very talky, glad to be back in Rochester in the fall. She asked me to drive out towards the ridge. She loved the farms, fruit trees, vegetable stands with squash and pumpkins. The papers were folded in the change pocket of her purse, next to a pair of photo ray sunglasses I had bought before the hospital. I would miss my bar, the public library next door, my basketball hoop. The dairy farm closed just after my graduation from high school. Saplings had grown in Old Man Spencer's driveway. The barn was still there, still the biggest dairy barn I had ever seen. Whether it was the sun through the windshield or another attack coming on, I don't know. I reached in my shirt pocket, found my plastic pill case, took Tuesday's pill. My ex-wife went into the barn with her pad and pen. I wanted to leave, maybe move to New Mexico. I could feel a breeze moving around the car, twirling the leaves of the poplars. I took Wednesday's pill also and hoped my ex-wife would come out of the barn soon. I was starting to hear names drifting from a loudspeaker, names of people I know or used to know a long time ago. My ex-wife finally came back. She had written a poem about the barn and Spencer, who she had never met. I worked the car down the road under the shadows of barns, other farms towards my parents' house. Old Man Spencer was an asshole, strong as hell, passionless. I hid from him on lunch breaks. No, Spencer wasn't the kind of man you'd want to write poetry about. What I remember most was Bill Adley, quarterback of our football team, my best friend. He fell into Spencer's grain bin on the Saturday of homecoming weekend. I found him the next morning, after the game. There's a picture in the yearbook with a poem. I don't remember any of it. I met my ex-wife the next year at the University of Brockport. I used to love to hear her poetry. I've never been married. Sometimes I wonder if I've ever been in love. Bill Adley was real, but he's gone now. My ex-wife went back to live in Maryland with her father, who's also divorced. I've been watching for coyotes on the mesa this afternoon. There's a dead ox up there, stinking in a dry creek bed. I hated the place. Power of broken boards, bright blades of swallows' wings, veering shingle flash, the great pulleys from pines 100 summers dead. I wanted my color television, air conditioner, computer, Not this rib cage left by those who broke the land. Not this weight of country dead, this disgust, this secular satori.